Hey there, welcome back to Stockpulse. Today we're diving into one of the most exciting IPOs of the year, NTPC Green Energy Limited. This is the green arm of India's energy giant NTPC, and they're stepping into the stock market. Now, whenever a big IPO like this comes along, everyone wants to know, should you buy it? Is this going to be the next big winner? Well, that's what we're going to break down today. We'll look at what NTPC Green Energy actually does, how their financials are looking, and most importantly, whether this is the right investment for you. So, what's the buzz about? Should you invest? Stay tuned, because by the end of this video, you'll have all the details to decide for yourself. Alright, let's start with the basics. What exactly is NTPC Green Energy? In a nutshell, they're all about renewable energy in India. We're talking about solar power, wind power, and even dipping their toes into green hydrogen. They were set up pretty recently, back in 2022, as a way for NTPC, that's India's biggest power company, to really double down on green energy. Think of it like this. India has huge goals for renewable energy. They want to be a global leader in this space. And NTPC Green Energy, they're a key player in making that happen. But here's the thing. While their parent company, NTPC, is massive and well-established, NTPC Green is still relatively new. They've got big ambitions, but they need the cash to make it happen. And that's where this IPO comes in. They're looking to raise funds to clear some debt, and more importantly, to fuel their expansion plans. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's great, but what's in it for me as an investor? That's the million-dollar question, right? And that's what we're going to unpack throughout this video. We'll dive into their financials, their growth potential, and all the factors you need to consider before hitting that buy button. So buckle up, because we're about to get into the nitty-gritty of NTPC Green Energy and whether it deserves a spot in your portfolio. Okay, let's talk numbers. Whenever you're considering an IPO, especially in a company as new as NTPC Green Energy, understanding their financials is crucial. Now, because they're fresh out of the gate, they don't have years of independent financial history to look at. But here's the thing. They've inherited a bunch of renewable energy projects from their parent company, NTPC. And these projects aren't just sitting there. They're already generating revenue. Why? Because they operate on something called long-term power purchase agreements. Basically, they've locked in buyers for their energy, guaranteeing a steady stream of cash flow. That's a big plus, especially for a young company. But here's the catch. They're still pretty reliant on NTPC for funding and for new projects. That's why this IPO is so important for them. It's about becoming more independent, clearing some of that debt, and having the financial firepower to chase after bigger and better projects. The good news is, the early projections for the IPO are looking pretty positive. Analysts are expecting it to significantly strengthen their balance sheet and reduce their financial risk. But remember, these are just projections. The actual performance will depend on a lot of factors. How well the IPO is received by investors, how effectively they use the funds, and of course, the overall market conditions. So, while their current financial position seems stable, their future performance is all about growth and expansion. And that's where things get really interesting. In the next chapter, we'll take a closer look at the renewable energy industry in India, the growth potential, and the challenges that lie ahead for NTPC Green Energy. Stay tuned. Now, let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture, the renewable energy industry in India. This is where things get really exciting. India has set some incredibly ambitious goals for renewable energy. They're aiming for a whopping 500 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity by 2030. To put that in perspective, that's more than double their current capacity. This is a massive undertaking, and it's creating a ton of opportunity for companies like NTPC Green Energy. Right now, India is already a major player in the global renewable energy scene. They're ranked 4th in the world for installed renewable energy capacity, and they're only getting started. What's driving this growth? Well, a few things. First, there's a huge push from the government. They're offering subsidies, tax incentives, and implementing policies that are super favorable to renewable energy. Second, we're seeing a major shift in consumer behavior. More and more people are becoming environmentally conscious, and they're demanding cleaner energy solutions. And it's not just individuals. Even big corporations are jumping on the renewable energy bandwagon, setting ambitious sustainability targets and looking for ways to reduce their carbon footprint. All of this is creating a massive demand for renewable energy, and companies like NTPC Green Energy are perfectly positioned to capitalize on it. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows. The renewable energy industry in India also faces its fair share of challenges. Land acquisition for large-scale projects can be a major hurdle. The regulatory landscape, while favorable now, can change, and any policy shifts could impact profitability. And of course, there's always competition. Other private players are also vying for a piece of the renewable energy pie. So, while the industry is ripe with opportunity, it's not without its risks. In the next chapter, we'll delve deeper into NTPC Green Energy's specific plans for the future and how they're navigating this exciting but challenging landscape. Alright, so we've talked about the overall renewable energy scene in India, but what about NTPC Green Energy specifically? What are their plans for the future? Well, let me tell you, they're not thinking small. They've got some seriously ambitious goals. Their roadmap includes expanding their solar and wind power capacity significantly. But they're not stopping there. They're also looking at emerging technologies like green hydrogen, which has the potential to be a game changer in the clean energy space. And they've got a few key things working in their favor. First, they have the backing of NTPC, which is huge. It gives them access to resources, technical expertise, and a level of credibility that's hard to match. Second, they're operating in a market where demand for renewable energy is only going up. As India continues to push towards its ambitious renewable energy targets, NTPC Green Energy is well positioned to ride that wave. And third, they've already got a solid foundation. Their existing projects are generating steady revenue, which gives them a level of financial stability that many young companies can only dream of. But, and this is a big but, their success isn't guaranteed. How quickly they can scale up their operations, how effectively they can execute their plans, and how well they can navigate the challenges of the Indian market will ultimately determine their fate. This IPO is a crucial step for them. It's about raising the capital they need to fuel their growth and prove to investors that they're worth betting on. So the question is, are you ready to take that bet? In the next chapter, we'll weigh the pros and cons of investing in NTPC Green Energy, so you can make an informed decision. Alright, we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about NTPC Green Energy, their financials, the Indian renewable energy market, and their future plans. Now, let's get down to the brass tacks. Should you invest in this IPO? Like any investment, there are pros and cons to consider. Let's start with the positives. First and foremost, NTPC Green Energy has that sweet, steady revenue stream coming in from those long-term power purchase agreements. That's a big plus, especially in a volatile market. Second, they've got the government on their side. With all the subsidies, incentives, and favorable policies in place, the odds are stacked in their favor. Third, they're riding the wave of a booming industry. Renewable energy is the future, and NTPC Green Energy is right in the thick of it. And finally, let's not forget about the NTPC connection. Having the backing of such a massive and established player gives them a level of credibility and stability that's hard to ignore. But, and there's always a but, there are some potential downsides to consider as well. First, they're still a young company, scaling up operations, executing projects on time and within budget, and navigating the complexities of the Indian market are all challenges they'll need to overcome. Second, they're still somewhat reliant on government policies. Any changes to those policies could impact their profitability. And third, the competition is heating up. Other private players are also eyeing the renewable energy pie, which could put pressure on margins and make it harder to secure those lucrative projects. So, there you have it. The good, the bad, and everything in between. Ultimately, the decision of whether or not to invest in NTPC Green Energy's IPO is a personal one. You need to weigh the potential rewards against the risks and decide if it aligns with your investment goals and risk tolerance. So after all that, what's the bottom line? Is NTPC Green Energy's IPO a buy? Well, as with any investment, there's no easy answer. It all comes down to your individual circumstances, risk tolerance, and investment goals. If you're someone who's bullish on the future of renewable energy, especially in a rapidly developing market like India, then NTPC Green Energy certainly ticks a lot of boxes. They've got the fundamentals in place: strong government support, a growing industry, and a clear roadmap for the future. But remember, they're not without their risks. They're a young company operating in a complex and ever-changing market. Their success is by no means guaranteed. Before making any investment decisions, it's crucial to do your own due diligence. Don't just take my word for it. Read the prospectus, research the company, and understand the potential risks and rewards before putting your hard-earned money on the line. Investing in an IPO can be exciting, but it's essential to approach it with a level head and a clear understanding of what you're getting into. Now, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. What do you think about NTPC Green Energy and their IPO? Are you planning to invest? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more in-depth investment analysis and insights. As always, make sure to do your own research and due diligence before making any investment decisions. Never invest more than you can afford to lose. Stay tuned for more insights. Like, share, and subscribe to StockPulse. Thanks for watching.